Hello, everyone. Thank you all so very much for making this most delightful trek with us. My name is Jermaine Watson. This is Section 31, and we are primed and ready to talk about all things Section 31. I am honored to serve as your guest. I'm joined today with Mr. Jason McCammon and also William Danger Newman. He says he answered everything. This is our first time recording with William Danger Newman. Um, but before he introduces himself, let's let Jason introduce himself to everyone.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason McCammon. Was this my third or fourth show? Glad to be here. Glad you guys are watching, and glad to talk about some Trek.
Excellent, William.
Okay, I'm William Danger Newman. I'm the founder and one of the lead hosts of the Galactic Driftwood podcast. We talk about all things science fiction, fantasy, horror. This is my first time on the Section 31 podcast with the Trekkers Delight Group, so I'm looking forward to some good chat on Section 31.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. What I didn't do in past episodes is I didn't give anyone a chance to kind of like let everyone know like who they are, what it is that they do in their personal lives. So, Jason, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of give us a little.
I've sprung the gamut in life. I've been a photographer. I've worked in film and television. I've got 2 books out called The Ancient Lands, fantasy novels. Lastly, I worked for years at a company called Freeman, where I managed audio visual installations for trade shows and conventions, which is nice because I got to go to a lot of free Comic Cons and meet a lot of Trek people, William Shatner and Picard, all those people from Picard. And now I opened a restaurant like 5 months ago. Called the Bowl Box, where we make rice bowls and ramen. So that is my current job as a restaurant owner. That's why my time is limited. Like,
All
I'm
right,
always
quite
in
a
the kitchen.
savant. Quite a
Yeah.
savant. I checked out your book on Amazon. His book is on Amazon, everyone. Check him out. William, can you tell us a little bit? Well, you did. You kind of told us a little bit about yourself, but can you elaborate?
Yeah, sure. Well, in real life, I'm a data network engineer, so I work with a lot of network gear, routers, switches, VPN concentrators, firewalls, all that kind of stuff. And then for fun, I do this kind of stuff, podcasting. We're also, my wife and I do a lot of cosplay, so we're into steampunk. I also cosplay as the War Doctor from Doctor Who. If you're familiar with that character, it was played by John Hurt. We just kind of do just all kinds of goofy stuff like that. So
Okay.
whatever's kind of wild and crazy, we're kind of into, as you can probably tell by my background here.
Man, I am
Yes,
so
nice.
jealous. That's like his man cave, Jason. Did you know
Right.
that? That's his
Yeah.
man cave.
I like it. My wife frequently guys, I work from home. In fact, this is where I work. And after 5 o'clock, about 5:30, my wife will yell down the stairs, "Are you ever coming up?"
And you said, "Why would I leave here? Have you seen this
Yes.
place?"
I have everything I need right here.
I
Why
mean,
would I leave?
he even has the blue mood lighting, man. Like, come on.
Right.
Is that wine? Is that wine? Is that what I see?
What?
I see a lot of liquor back there.
Yeah.
Something.
Oh, in the bookcase?
I can't
Yeah.
tell. Like right by. Yeah.
I think you're seeing glasses. There's like a glass that's I got at Quark's Bar in Las Vegas at the Star Trek Experience.
Oh, nice.
Gotcha. See.
Right
Quark's
by the
bar.
Right
He
by the
acquainted
TARDIS.
that with liquor.
I just had a whole perspective experience just then when he walked back there. You ever
Me?
see when they walk back in the converging corners and they look smaller, like in
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
See, it even says Quarks on it.
That's
Wow. That reminds me of like hurricane glasses on Bourbon Street, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
All right, let's get this started.
How much latinum did that cost you?
I don't remember. It was so long ago, but
One strip.
one strip, no doubt.
All right, so to start us off in this episode, Hugh Culber's character is resurrected via the mycelial network, reuniting him with his husband, Stamets. This is a season 2 episode of Discovery, and it is the fifth show titled Saints of Imperfection, which is derived from Guillermo del Toro's Monsters are the Patron Saints of Imperfection. Also, during this episode, which is of supreme importance to this show, is what we discover about Section 31. Let's put this into context for our new listeners. This show is about exploring the world of Section 31. And to do that effectively, we need to take some time to really understand who, what, when, where, how, when, and why of Section 31, which includes its limitations. Remember, before we begin, we're more interested in what we learn about Section 31 through the lens of this episode. So, again, let's get started. So, the first part of the episode, we learn Section 31 is involved in the internal affairs of Starfleet. We also figure out some structure, right? It's now identified within Section 31. There's no longer any gray areas. Section 31 is part of Starfleet intelligence. It's also no longer cloak and dagger. If you recall, under Enterprise, it was very, very cloak and dagger. You know, who is this? What is it? Never heard of this before. Even to the point, so we know that Discovery takes place sometime after Enterprise, and even before TOS, right? That's what we know. All right. And so by the time of Deep Space Nine, at some point, no one knows anything about Section 31. In this particular episode, we find out that people do know about Section 31. Okay. So that's something that's a little different, right? So this is my question. What would have caused Section 31 to go underground or forgotten by the time of TNG, DS9, and Voyager?
I have an answer for that.
What you got?
But it's a spoiler for the later in the season. If nobody had, but actually, if you haven't seen the whole season by now, then I'm sorry, that's your fault.
Well, what could you, if you hadn't known that, what would you have assumed?
What would I have assumed? I would assume they did something bad and they got kicked out because, well, right now, it's obviously part of Starfleet, and Starfleet says it's a much needed intelligence arm of Starfleet. But what I will say later on, I think the fact that controls evolution to AI and its takeover of Section 31, because basically by the end of the season, Control has complete control over Section 31. It's complete. It's controlled by an AI. So I think that situation pretty much shut down the program for the most part.
Oh, spoiler. Thank you.
Well, I'm just gonna. Hey, somebody needs to be watching that.
I agree with you, Jason. I think that was the main thing. So my sort of analysis of it is that, you know, in the early days, in the Enterprise series days, right, the Federation was just forming, and you probably had this nascent Section 31 group that kind of formed outside of the structure of the Federation, with the goal of sort of protecting the interests of the Federation. I think in this episode, Leland probably says it well when he says, "We do what we do so you can do what you do."
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's kind of how it started out. And I think probably what happened is sometime between the time of Enterprise and the time of Discovery, the Federation realized how much they needed Section 31 to get stuff done. But they also realized that there was no control and no rigor over what Section 31 did. And so I think they decided, okay, we've got this organization. We realize it's got some use to the Federation, right? Let's bring it under our umbrella, give it some structure and some oversight. and we know it's operate within the gray areas, but we're going to bring it out of the shadows and make it a more public thing that we can kind of control. And then throughout this season, we see the disaster that happens with Section 31.
So this is where I got to stop you. So
Yeah,
part of what we do in this particular show is we want to take it episode by episode.
right.
Okay.
Mostly because we don't want to throw too much at anybody. It's like, okay, this is what happens here. This is what happens here. This is what happens here. And by doing that, we have a much clearer picture of what Section 31 is,
Gotcha.
which is why, like, I really didn't want any spoilers.
Arguably, to my defense, that's not fair because you asked us a question.
Yeah, I did.
Based on what we think happened before a certain point, and I don't know, we have that knowledge.
Yeah. I get it. And that is fair. That is fair. But I just don't want to. I don't want to spoil it for anyone because let's face it, this particular show has, meaning Section 31 as part of Trucker's Delight. It has a lifespan, right? That could be extinguished in one episode.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Yep.
All right.
Well, let's say in this episode, to what William was saying, at this point, Starfleet feels that they do have a handle on. They are controlling what Section 31 is doing. You know, at the end of the episode, the Admiral is giving orders. She's telling Leland, "Hey, you shouldn't have done that. You can't do this. You got to do that." And he's taking orders from her, like he's okay with it. You know, he even apologized for stepping out of the line. But
and so this is my question. So how entrenched is Section 31? I mean, so what I mean by that is you have an admiral who is giving orders on behalf of Section 31. Well, I'm not going to say on behalf of Section 31. This is clearly like a Starfleet issue, right?
Yeah.
And so there must be some coordination between Starfleet itself and Section 31 going on, to the extent that, you know, she wants, you know, by the end of this episode, she wants the two of them to work together. So how entrenched? Yes.
I think to your question, I think it's more than just the Admiral kind of over controlling Section 31, because we see in this episode that Section 31 has their own starships. Right. And we see these starships, they have advanced technology that we haven't seen before in this era of Star Trek, right? For the Federation. So that's, I mean, the infrastructure you would need to create a starship and to come up with these advanced technologies requires some sort of major funding, right? And in my mind, that's got to come from Starfleet. They've got to have major buy-in from Starfleet, more than just one or two admirals knowing of the existence of this underground thing. They've got to have their own black ops budget that's within the Federation, that's within Starfleet.
Right, they're definitely on the books.
Well, exactly. The one thing to consider at this point is it is everyone knows about Section 31, right? So it's not, you know, it is black ops, but it's not to the extent that officers within Starfleet don't know about it. They do know about it.
Right.
It's not like in Independence Day where they had like Area
51
and the president's like, where do you get funding to pay for this? You know what I mean? It's not like that. I think it's plain on paper.
Yeah.
Where it is, what's going on.
And we saw very early in this season, I think the second episode, when Burnham got brought onto the ship, she was walked down the corridor and there were guys in uniform with the Section 31 badges standing in the hallway.
They said season one.
It wasn't like they were hiding anything. And I think at that point, a lot of the commentary that I saw was people said the whole serial number of the ship itself, NCC 1031, was referencing this is a 1031 ship, but now we find out that's not the case. Section 31 does have their own ships, which is pretty interesting, I think. So
Yeah. And
so it seems like it's a pretty common thing. It's definitely not cloak and dagger like it used to be.
right. Some other forms of technology that we find out, in addition to the communicator badge, the holographic technology to mask the ship that you were just
Yep, they had
talking
a cloak
about.
ship.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And also that tractor beam technology. I've never
Yeah.
seen a tractor beam technology like that before.
That was different. Those are actual physical objects that anchored onto the ship, and then the
Right.
tractor beam pulled that. That was the first. I had noticed that too. Never saw that before.
Yeah, because in the original series, we never really saw a tractor beam as such. It was always just, lock a tractor beam onto that ship and tow it along with us, like in the Space Seed, for example, with Khan and all that, where they brought that ship alongside. I can't remember what the name of the ship was. Botany Bay? No.
Botany Bay.
yeah.
That was Khan's ship. Yes.
Right. And they just tractored it right along with the ship. And so this is the first time we've seen where they deployed physical objects to anchor the tractor beams too, which is kind of different, and makes me wonder why they did it that way.
Well,
Enterprise,
in Deep Space, I'm sorry, in Deep Space
go
Nine,
ahead.
in Deep Space Nine, what we found out from Sloan, I believe it was, is that part of what Section 31 does is they amass this technology, and when needed, they share this technology with Starfleet itself. So Section 31 is almost always going to be more advanced than the rest of Starfleet.
But any type of cloaking device is illegal.
It is, but
maybe not at this point.
That wasn't really a cloaking device. It was a holographic image because you remember it was an asteroid.
Yeah,
more like a disguise,
right?
A cloak.
Which tells you all the way back then they had hologram technology.
Right.
Although it functions kind of like the equivalent of a cloak in a way, because you wouldn't know there was a ship there. You'd assume it was just an asteroid until it changed course and started to follow you.
well, it would have to be. See, it can't be just a hologram because that just fools your eyes. You need something to also fool sensors.
Yeah,
so it still would require cloaking technology to fool sensors.
Well, they did say, I think in that episode, that it had the ability to disguise or hide the warp signature.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that way, similar to a cloaking device.
Something else we learned was that Section 31 is held to a high standard, meaning court-martials as well. So that kind of made me percolate. It was like, so this entity that works in the shadows can be court-martialed. So that tells me that there must have been something that happened that triggered that the ability for Section 31 officers to be court-martialed. And when I think about the upcoming show, I'm thinking, this is something that is going to be explored. Just
I think that the fact is they still they're an entity that still has rules and still has structure. Just because they can go, what it is Starfleet has a line that it draws, and they just say, you know what, we need another line to draw and operate, but everybody can't work on that line. We just have one. Section 31 can work in that line, but it's still a military-like organization, and they have to have structure. They have to have hierarchy. They have to have somebody in control. They have to have. It just can't be chaotic.
So then, who would regulate?
Who would regulate a situation like? They're still under Starfleet.
Well, they are, but what if Starfleet itself, like at a certain point, Starfleet didn't know that Section 31 existed? So who was regulating them?
When are you talking? You're talking about later on.
Exactly.
Okay, later on that things change, but at this point in the episode, they still answer to any admiral in Starfleet.
Right. That's what I see.
They take orders.
I agree, Jason. At this point in the evolution of Section 31, they are a structured part of Starfleet, and as such, they're within that chain of command, and they're susceptible to any other type of discipline that a regular Starfleet officer would be subjected to. If you commit a gross dereliction of duty, you can be court-martialed.
Yep. And I don't think that they have a Section 31 admiral anywhere. I don't think there's anybody in that rank.
Right,
That we
because
know of.
Leland says in the episode that he's the head of Section 31, and I
Right.
think he's just a captain.
Yep.
Yes, he was. But this is just a question. I wonder if there is an admiral that is working more closely with Section 31.
Well, right now it's just Cornwall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of Cornwall, so when she arrives, she basically gives the two information about the Red Angel and emphasizes the fact that tachyon emissions, were used. To which I believe it was Pike that said, this could mean this, or this, and on that it was Leland that said, time travel. He kind of emphasized that point of time travel. And so what I wondered in that moment was he saying, Cornwell, watch it, don't let Pike know that we have the ability to time travel? Or was that him saying, I'm interested in time travel? What do you think?
I think that being Section 31, he immediately went to the most derelict of possibilities. Whereas like Pike went to something more practical, like, or it could be a cloaked ship, or it could be a tractor beam. But I think Leland, being Section 31, he's forced to like look at more outside the box at other options. And yeah, what do you think, Will?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was mostly Leland just kind of stating the obvious.
Right.
And I think obviously he's very interested in the time travel, and even more interested in the fact that if this is a suit that somebody's wearing that is capable of time travel, it's something Section 31 really wants.
Right. So you're saying, okay, I got you.
Yeah. So I think he's kind of putting it out there for the benefit of Admiral Cornwall that, time travel. All right, this is our domain now. I need to take this and run with it.
I got you. That makes sense.
That's what I'm thinking.
To what end do you think, like, if Section 31 were to gain that technology, to what end do you think they would use it?
To always win. Like anybody wants, same reason why they wanted trebuchets.
Right. Because I mean, we're all familiar with in the future the use of the development of the temporal accords that sort of block the time travel because of some time war that we don't know a whole lot about, right? And in my mind, that's what this would precipitate, right? Because we know that there's the Klingon homeworld. Or wait, have we gotten there yet to the not the Klingon homeworld, but the planet where the offspring of Chancellor Laurel and Voke?
Oh, we have not gotten
yet.
We haven't got there yet. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I've seen the whole season, so
It's okay.
But so we know that the ability for time travel is not necessarily limited to what Section 31 does or does not yet know about the suit or whatever. So I think if they can get it, they may use it for whatever they want. But this could, if they get it sooner than what we know of already in the Star Trek timeline, that could precipitate an earlier time war, because there'd be obviously other races that would want to get it and run with it.
If they only knew the 10 million ways in Star Trek that you could time travel.
Yes, right. The little slingshot around the sun deal.
Right.
Which is the easiest.
Right.
Anyway. So towards the end, and William, you kind of, maybe either one of you kind of sort of mentioned it. You were talking about Admiral Cornwall.
Yeah.
and she made this reference. She was talking about nation building. She was just like, basically, you know that nation building is not an easy thing to do.
messy
It's
thing.
it's unappetizing.
Yeah.
What do you think she was saying in that moment?
I think she's saying that, we've got a goal in mind here, an ideal that we're trying to spread across the galaxy, and we realize that there's going to be some messy things that we're going to run into that are going to prevent us from necessarily doing this the way that we should do it, the way that we want to be known for. And as a result, in order to accomplish this, in other words, I think it's a case where the ends justify the means,
Right.
or the means justify
It means that's
the
why they
ends,
end.
right? So, she doesn't like the fact that they need Section 31, but she knows they need Section 31 if they're going to accomplish what they need to do. I think
Right.
that's what she's saying in that point. Jason, what do you think?
No, I agree exactly. Nation building. I mean, you can call it an empire. You can look at it that way.
Yeah.
Although calling something an empire has sort of negative connotations to it.
Sure.
So to them, they're just building a way of life throughout the galaxy. Is what they're trying to do. And it's not going to be easy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
I do have one question, because we do see the return of Philippa Georgiou in this episode, right? And she is now a member of Section 31, which is a big surprise to Michael Burnham and of course all of us in the audience. Well, not really a surprise, because we did kind of get a little teaser of that earlier, right? So we were ready for it. Michael Burnham, poor Michael, wasn't. But here's my question.
That's where she would fit. Best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Her and Ash Tyler as well, because it seems to be a great organization for misfits that maybe don't fit into the Starfleet mold, right?
Right.
But one thing I noticed in this is that, remember, we learned with God, what was the captain originally on Discovery? Lorca, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we saw Lorca had a problem with light because he was from the mirror universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Georgiou doesn't seem to have that same affliction.
No, not at all.
I think they just decided not to run with that.
Yeah.
Not to just keep putting it in there.
Not to belabor it.
Yeah. I think it'd be nice every once in a while. It's like if you ever watched Stargate. What's the name? Started the show with a terrible. He used to sneeze all the time. Needed Kleenex, and like 6 shows in, they got rid of that. So sometimes you just like get rid of it.
In my mind, I was trying to justify that in my mind, and because I thought, obviously I know the real reason, right, outside of the show world,
right,
like what you were saying. But in my mind, I was like, how would you justify that? And I thought, you know what? Because Georgiou is from that mirror universe, and she was emperor there, and she knew that any sign of weakness could mean her death, she would hide the fact that light bothered her. She wouldn't let anybody know that, because she wouldn't want anybody to see that she had a weakness.
Probably.
That makes sense. There's another theory, and I was just thinking about it as you were talking. So even in this particular episode, we saw that she's very adept, especially she knows how to use a computer. She knows how to manipulate a computer to get what she wants.
Right.
It is also conceivable. Part of the reason why Lorca never told anyone was because, like, he was hiding the fact that he was from the mirror universe. It's quite possible that Starfleet technology in that day had what they needed in order to fix her eyes. But being who she is, and they know that she's from the mirror universe, she was also able possibly to do whatever was necessary to fix her eyes on her own.
Maybe Section 31 had the technology to fix her.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd have been nice. They could have just did that in 3 seconds of an episode. Somebody mentioned her eyes, and she said, "I had them fixed." That could have taken care of it,
Right. Right.
I have a small physics question. It's not really Section 31, but it's weird to me that the signals, they see these signals and sometimes they're like 100 light years away. Like they had to go to the beta quadrant. So do the math on the speed of light, and when you see something,
Oh yeah, right.
right? And they say, "Oh, it was gone by the time we got there." It was like, yeah, it was gone 100,000 years ago.
Right.
I wonder why they just like kind of skip over that.
Yeah,
But
I mean, even with Discovery's ability to jump instantaneously anywhere in the galaxy, by the time that light of the Red Angel would have reached them, it would have been long gone, even if they jumped there immediately, right?
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Well, one thing to consider as well, I remember, I don't know if it was in this particular episode, but I remember they said, or maybe I'm crossing the current season. So I'll hold it. But what I'm thinking is there was a point when they said we got reports from an outpost here, wherever it was, that they saw this. And so then they went there. I'm not saying that directly answers your question. Where was this outpost in relation to where it was? I'm not certain.
Or whatever. Yeah.
But I could be conflating that and the current season because I was watching them simultaneously.
You still it would still have to travel to them and then travel to them. It's still, I don't know, it doesn't save time really.
Right.
One thing I wanted to mention about just the characters at the moment is right now Section 31 doesn't really seem like any type of villain.
Right.
Yet. I mean,
Not right now.
Leland, you could tell Leland and Pike have kind of respect for each other. Pike just knows that Leland is in this group and that they're willing to go a step further than Pike is as far as morality. Plus, he was pretty pissed that he cloaked the ship right next to him, so he's pissed about that. But they haven't really established the rapport between them. Isn't any type of villainry whatsoever at this point. They're just another section of Starfleet that's operating.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So we kind of talked about Giorgio. William stole my thunder. It was something that I was going to talk about when it came to Giorgio. But I'm looking at the time and what we have coming up. I want to end it here. We're going to have another episode of Section 31. See us in about 2 weeks. This is one of our shorter broadcasts. So at this time, if there are any parting words from you, Jason, or from you, William, make them now. If ever hold your peace.
Only other point I want to make that change in the show was at the beginning, Section 31 was going after Spock because he was suspected of murder. At the end, they're going after Spock because he's connected somehow. He's the only one who knows something about the signals. So just that motivation
changed everything.
Right. I think once they got the smell of superior technology, then Section 31 refocused itself and decided this is a little bit more important maybe than what we'd originally thought.
By the way, so Section 31 involved in, that was something else that I wanted to talk about. Just the fact that Section 31 was involved in capturing a suspected murderer. Like, is that something that falls in the purview of Section 31? No. That didn't make sense.
It's weird. I mean, I don't know how many murderers they have in the 22nd century.
Right. Well, they had we know from the original series they had penal colonies.
Yeah, they got penal colonies.
Yeah. True. So we have to assume that they've got murderers.
Right.
But why Section 31 would be tasked with that? That does not seem like something an organization tasked with the very survival of the Federation would be tasked with just apprehending a murderer.
Or is it conceivable that Section 31 knew of the connection all along and never told Starfleet?
Maybe, but it seemed like Leland learned about that during the course of the season like we did.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Control. Oh, never mind.
Yep, there's no mention of control yet. We don't.
We'll have to bleep that out.
But Leland says, that's a good point. Leland says he's the head of Section 31, and that is completely incorrect.
That's true.
Right.
He is not.
He just doesn't know it yet.
Right.
Well, guys. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and if do a little reading on Section 31, you will find out that there's actually been an AI involved in Section 31 for a while.
I'm doing my reading. I'm doing
Oh,
my
okay.
reading.
Is one of those my book? Oh, no.
Not yet. All right. With that, make certain that you like, subscribe, comment, share this particular episode of Section 31, Trekkers Delights, Section 31. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
I just want to talk to her. No, I just want to talk to her. Like I heard, like what I think Robin said. I think she wanted to pull her hands back.
She wanted to do a bitch.
No, she wanted to.
Bitch.
So if you can't tell, they have thoughts about Discovery.
Look, here's the thing. Cancel culture might get everyone else, but they won't come for me in this subject. If you are our allies, we are not talking to you. We are not talking to you. This does not. Pop. Okay? We're not talking to you. Stop trying to take our shit and make it your goddamn business. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Did I say that? No. I said Packers and Kardashian. If you are neither in that category, go to another show.